Hey, this is Jimmy Cooper. In August, I officially announced that I was seeking the Democratic Party nomination for president in the 2024 election. I'm making this video today to announce that I've now decided to run as an independent for the remainder of the campaign. I really wanted to run as a Democrat. Polls have consistently shown that Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters prefer somebody other than Biden to be the Democratic Party nominee. In April, a CBS poll showed that only 36% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters preferred Biden compared to 58% who preferred somebody else, with 6% undecided. In August, a CNN poll showed that only 33% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters preferred Biden compared to 67% who preferred somebody else. I'm definitely somebody else. And we need at least one working-class progressive running as a Democrat for president, as well as for every other office. Unfortunately, the DNC has gone to great lengths this year to keep Democratic challengers to Biden off of the ballot and out of the spotlight. The DNC has made new rules this year that make it extremely difficult for challengers to Biden to get on the Democratic Party ballot. They've refused to allow Democratic Party debates in order to keep Democratic challengers to Biden from getting publicity that way. And apparently they've also colluded with the mainstream media to keep Democratic challengers to Biden from getting any kind of media attention. All of these things have made it extremely unlikely for any Democratic challenger to Biden to have a chance of getting the nomination. But it makes it practically impossible for a virtually unknown candidate like myself to have any kind of a chance at all. For those reasons, I've decided to run as an independent for the remainder of the campaign. Now, let me go ahead and say up front, should I actually become a popular candidate, it is not my intention in any way to play the spoiler for the Democrats and to throw the election to the Republicans. First of all, I wanted to run as a Democrat. I started out running as a Democrat. It's only because the DNC has made it impossible for me to have a chance to win as a Democrat that I've decided to run as an independent. Secondly, I still support and still intend to endorse progressive Democrats. As a matter of fact, I still hope that my campaign helps to inspire a progressive wave of candidates, enough so that if we win, we'll be the majority and we'll be able to put progressive policies into action. Thirdly, I still have a plan to help orchestrate a working-class progressive takeover of the Democratic Party, beginning at the county level and working its way up. That's the topic of my next video. And fourthly, and this is something that Democrats and anybody who does not want to see Trump become president again need to take very seriously. And that is that unless something crazy happens, Biden is not going to win again in 2024. Several different polls over the last few months show Biden losing in head-to-head competition against almost every Republican challenger, including Trump. Now, most of those head-to-head matchups are fairly close, and there is a margin of error. However, first of all, the majority of Americans give Biden a negative approval rating as president. Secondly, Democrats already have a problem getting out the vote. Unfortunately, a lot of Democratic voters have to be really motivated to go out and vote. In 2020, when Biden beat Trump, at that time when Trump was president, the COVID pandemic was going on, people saw what a horrible president Trump was, and they wanted somebody else. And Democrats were able to get out the vote enough so that Biden was able to win the election. However, going into 2024, Trump is not president. There's the threat of him becoming president again, but right now he's not president. Biden is president. He's been president for the last 3 years, and the American people see that things have not gotten that much better under Biden as president. The majority of Americans give Biden a negative approval rating, and even most Democrats prefer somebody other than Biden. Given all of that, you would think that the DNC would want to allow challengers to Biden to get on the ballot and would want to have Democratic Party debates so that Democratic voters could see a variety of candidates and we could nominate the strongest possible candidate with the best chance of beating Trump in the general election. But the DNC has done just the opposite of that by throwing all of their support behind Biden and doing everything they can to keep challengers from Biden from having any kind of a chance. And the reason for that is that despite all of their rhetoric, establishment Democrats would rather see Trump get elected again than to see a progressive like Bernie Sanders or Marianne Williamson or myself get elected. Because the truth is that the Democratic Party, as it stands today, just like the Republican Party, is controlled by billionaires and multimillionaires and bootlickers to those billionaires and multimillionaires. And the economic policies of Trump benefit the billionaires and multimillionaires who control the Democratic Party. Just like the economic policies of establishment Democrats benefit Trump and the billionaires and multimillionaires who control the Republican Party. The truth is, they're all in the same club, and their policies only benefit one another and not the rest of us. George Carlin was right. It's a big club. They're in it, and the rest of us are not. Their policies only benefit themselves and not the rest of us. They don't care anything about the rest of us. And that is the real reason why the DNC has gone to such great lengths this election to keep Democratic challengers to Biden from having any kind of a chance, because they do not want to see a progressive like Bernie Sanders or Marianne Williamson or myself win the Democratic Party nomination and then win the election, because a progressive's policies will benefit all of the American people and not so much the billionaires and multimillionaires, whereas Trump's economic policies benefit the billionaires and multimillionaires who control both the Republican and the Democratic parties. And that is the real reason why the DNC is taking the actions that it's currently taking. So, Biden is losing in head-to-head matchups against almost every Republican challenger, including Trump. The majority of Americans give Biden a negative approval rating as president. And even most Democrats prefer somebody other than Biden to be the Democratic Party nominee. But there's one more factor in this election that in and of itself guarantees that Biden will not win again in 2024. And that is that Robert Kennedy is now running as an independent. He started out running as a Democrat, but because of the shenanigans of the DNC, he decided to run as an independent, and he has no intentions of dropping out of this race. At one point, Kennedy was polling as high as 17% among Democratic-leaning voters. The last Quinnipiac poll that I've seen has him at 14%. Now, running as an independent, he may not take all of his Democratic supporters with him. However, he has enough support that in the general election, he will take more than enough votes away from Biden to throw the election to the Republicans. And Kennedy is not the only independent in this election. Cornel West is running as president as an independent. He's likely to take progressive votes away from Biden. There have been rumors for a long time now that Manchin may run as an independent. And his actions recently have shown that that's probably what's going to happen. Manchin is likely to take conservative votes away from Biden. One of the things that helped Biden win in 2020 was that a lot of Republicans decided to vote for Biden to keep from having to vote for Trump. Manchin would give them a conservative to vote for to keep from having to vote for the Democrat. But even not taking these other progressives into consideration, Kennedy running in and of itself guarantees that Biden will not win in 2024. And that means President Trump, unless the American people decide to support somebody else. And even if Trump's legal battles cause him to have to drop out of the race, which is extremely unlikely, this is going to stretch out for a long period of time, and is almost certainly going to, the ultimate conclusion is almost certainly going to be after the election in 2024. But even if Trump were to have to drop out, I know a lot of Democrats are hoping that that'll happen, that just means President DeSantis or some other right-wing extremist. But most likely it means President Trump again, unless the American people decide to support somebody else. The good news is that a Quinnipiac poll in July showed that 47% of American voters say that they would consider voting for a third-party candidate in this upcoming presidential election. That is an amazing number. I don't think that number has ever been that high. And willingness to vote for a third-party candidate also means willingness to vote for an independent candidate. It means a willingness to vote for somebody other than the Republican and the Democratic Party nominees. As an independent myself, if I were to win 47% of the vote, then I would win the election, because Trump and Biden and the rest of the candidates would have to split the remaining 53% of the votes. Now, I realize that I'm not the only independent in the race, and also that as of right now, I'm still a virtually unknown candidate. But that's part of the reason I'm running. You ought not to have to be rich and famous to get elected president in the United States, or to get elected to any other position. Working class Americans ought to have just as much chance to win an election, and ought to get just as much media attention as any other candidate running for office. And it is time for the American people to put aside our differences and to put an end to all of the division, and to come together and to work together for the mutual benefit of all of the American people. And as part of that, it's time for the American people to support one candidate who will work for all of the American people. Not a candidate who will just work for the 1%. Not a right-wing extremist billionaire Republican. Not a multi-millionaire establishment Democrat. Not a multi-millionaire anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorist. But a working-class progressive who will work for all of the American people. What I offer as a candidate is that, first of all, unlike any of the other candidates, I'm an actual working-class American. I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's like to struggle just to make ends meet. I know what it's like to work a 40-hour-a-week job and to DoorDash on the side just to be able to pay the bills. I know what so many of the American people are going through these days. As a working-class American myself, I'm able to empathize with and relate to the American people in a way that the other candidates are not able to do. Secondly, I have the most progressive platform of any candidate running for president. Take a look at my platform and take a look at the platforms of any other candidate running, and you'll see a very clear difference. I stand on my status as a working class American, on my character, and on my platform. And I'm asking the American people to take a look at me as a candidate and take a look at my platform and see what you think. Please visit my website, jimmycooperforpresident.com. My website has my platform. It has all of my videos. It has a form to volunteer to help out the campaign. It has a form to make contributions to the campaign. Also, please check out and like my Facebook page, Jimmy Cooper for President, and my Twitter page, @RevolutionaryJC. And please consider supporting this campaign. Thanks for watching. For now, this is Jimmy Cooper signing off. More videos to come.